I now call to order the April 16th, 2020 Facilities Committee meeting of the Belton Independent School District of Trustees. Our board president has joined us. Therefore, a quorum of board members is present. On March 16th, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meeting laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to the coronavirus, COVID-19. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. Number one, notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Number two, although members of the committee are not gathered in a central physical location, all committee members are in attendance at this meeting by video conference. Number three, we are meeting by use of Zoom software application. Members of the public may listen and view this meeting by live stream provided on the BISD Board of Trustees YouTube channel, which is linked on the meeting notice available on the district's website. Number four, this software application allows for people to view and interact during the meeting. We apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. Number five, members of the public were provided instructions on the meeting notice for providing public comment to be read into the record during the public comment portion of the meeting. Those who would like to provide comment at a future meeting conducted by video conference or telephone call should follow instructions on future meeting notices. Number six, all other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practicable. Number seven, a video recording of this meeting is being made and would be available to the public at a later date. Number eight, questions about these suspended laws should be addressed to the Office of the Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or by email at toma@oag.texas.gov. This is now the public comments section. As I noted a moment ago, to comment on an item on the agenda for today's Facilities Committee meeting, members of the public were instructed to submit their comments to be read into the record. Elizabeth, would you please read any comments that were received from members of the public?
No comments were submitted.
All right, since there are no public comments, let's go ahead and get started. We'd like to, number one, we'll get started with an update on our playground improvements and additions project. Is that Jared? All right, did y'all hear me say that? Did I not punch the button? All right.
We're going to start off with Robert. Robert, you can jump in and Jared will, and Robert will guide us through after that. So Robert, would you jump on for us?
Good afternoon. Are you able to see the agenda, or Elizabeth, do we pull up the agenda? We had 3 attachments.
Yes, I will get it pulled up.
Okay, it's all review. And while that's coming up, I will tell you that those 3 attachments are simply kind of what you've seen before. These 2 pages which show playground equipment from the Capital Improvement Projects Plan. And I will tell you that that plan dates as far back as 2015. It was updated with the board in 2018. Playground equipment was added, I believe, at that point and became part of the Capital Improvement Projects Plan. In that document, Jared and the architects have estimated a total project cost of $2.1 million. That includes implementing all of Part A, implementing a sunscreen, 1 per campus, and then adding swings at each playground for the $54,000. If you'll scroll on down, Elizabeth, the notes that Dr. Battershall put out following the last facility committee are here. And so just to review those notes very quickly, ADA compliance was achieved on all elementary playgrounds during the summer of 2019. And so again, what is recommended that we go forward with is Part A for a cost of $684,000. That's the playground equipment. Also recommended for Part B, one cover per campus for a total of $462,000. Additionally, including swings at each playground with fall material for a total of $954,000. So that brings the total project cost to $2.1 million. That total project cost does include A&E fees. It includes some contingency. It includes fees for surveying, permitting, those kinds of things. So it is truly a total project cost. Just very quickly, and then I'm going to ask Jared if he wants to provide any comments, but very quickly, the timeline, you will see two items that we're recommending for approval at the upcoming board meeting. One is to engage O'Connell Robertson in the design of these playgrounds, because what we have seen up to this point is really based on the work that O'Connell Robertson did as part of the capital improvement projects plan. So what we would like to do is go ahead and engage them for the design and implementation of this project. And so that would be one item for approval. That would be, if that's approved, then that's followed by our recommendation to do a construction delivery method on the playground equipment as a competitive seal proposal. And so very quickly, the timeline of that would be, if that's approved in April, then we would have O'Connell Robertson, have Jared work with the principals, develop the final specifications and the final scope of the project, put that in a package, bid that out, bring it back to the board for approval probably in June, and hopefully begin the construction project in late July, early August. Now there's some ifs in there, which would be supply chain type issues, but that's our timeline at this point, and those are the things that you will see on Monday. We have received, just full disclosure, we have received an email from a parent who indicated that they had some concern over the fall protection material that currently exists on some of our playgrounds, and they prefer the synthetic, particularly for handicapped children who are confined to a wheelchair, and that the synthetic material allows the wheelchair to be rolled across the playground itself. So we just received that email from that parent the other day, and that can be part of the discussions as Jared works with principals on the final specifications of the project. Jared, do you have anything to add?
No, that really captures it in terms of the content. And I think those discussions about what equipment, where does it go, the fall protection material is really what we're looking at uncovering here as we move forward to the design process. We plan to touch base with each one of the principals and each one of the campuses to make sure it's correct, and then get to a design solution to then put in place and go to bid.
Yeah, we are recommending that we engage O'Connell Robertson for a couple of reasons. One is the standard that the district is following is that's been established at Charter Oak. And two, anything that is put in will need to be ADA accessible. And so we think it's important to engage the architect in those, to include site placement. Where do we place these things on the existing sites? How do we do that most expeditiously, I guess?
All right. I guess
any questions?
Yeah, the only question that I had when I was reading through the packet the other day would be for Jennifer, maybe, or Dr. Muller, based on what's going on, budget-wise and money-wise, collections across the state are going to be definitely affected a lot by the COVID. Are we still okay to move forward with this project, or do we need to hold on to this money going forward? Just was wondering about that.
Ty, I think everyone is in the same boat in terms of the uncertainty that we face in the future, and we're monitoring that. And I think what what I would like to do is when we get to the May budget meeting, I want to talk a lot more about that. But in response to these playgrounds, we had some money set aside, but there are some other, we have a couple of different options in terms of funding the playgrounds. So I really want to talk a little bit more about that. But in these initial steps, it'll give us a really good idea more so on what the firm price is going to be, and then we can get a plan in place to address the funding source.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, then we'll move on, get our update on Lake Belton High School.
Hey, very quickly, I will make some comments and I'll allow David and Jared to add into those comments. But just very quickly, we wanted to do two things. One, give you an update of where we are in Lake Belton High School, and then two, review some of the change orders that have recently been approved and are moving forward. And we want to review those change orders because there is one that's fairly large, $134,000, and it's related to security changes that were made. So we want to kind of review that and see if there are any questions on that. But very quickly, the progress of the building is going really well. We're fast approaching substantial completion, probably at the end of May. On May 18th, we're going to have furniture delivery for the east side of the building. The auto shop will be nearing completion soon. The track will be done by the end of next week. Asphalt paving will be completed in the next 3 weeks. In May, Bartlett Cock will be working on punch list items. David is setting up training for the different systems and mechanical controls. In mid-May, he's working with Jill Ross to make sure we have the right people there at that training. Fire alarm testing will take place next week, and I believe before I move on to the change order, Jared, do you have anything to add for the update, or David? I know you're here by phone. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think you pretty well captured everything, Dr. Muller. The project is really progressing well. It looks good. I don't know last time you've even just been out to drive through, but with the sod down and all the finishes going in, it's really looking like a Class A building.
Jared, do you have anything to add, Jared?
I gotta be active to the Zoom window. Sorry, I clicked on another one. It was hitting space bar and it wasn't doing anything. I think just echoing Dr. Muller and David's comments is that we're fast approaching the end. Kurt has been on site going through punch list from an architectural perspective and providing those to the contractor. And in general, we're starting to, hearing as an industry, there's a little bit more activity on school projects now because the workforces are being shifted to those. So we're seeing no slowdown with what's occurred over the last month. So that's positive, and targeting completion and furniture and everything moving in and starting to talk about close out the inspections of the training, starting to talk about contingency and buyout savings as well, which is what Dr. Muller is going to lead into here.
Yeah, so the next thing under this item is to review the change orders that are currently underway. Elizabeth, if you could pull up that. Is that Connie? Elizabeth or Connie, can you pull up the agenda and show that attachment?
It'll be me, and I'll be right with you.
Okay. Okay, yes, this attachment. What you see at the top is hard to see. It's the RCO log, and it's broken out, which is a little bit easier to see at the bottom. So the owner's contingency that was available under owner's contingency on 4/2 was $147,542. One change order, RFP 34, was lowering the projectors. That was a cost of $21,543, and so that reduced our owner's contingency to $125 roughly. We also had a band tower and the need for the band tower to sit on a concrete slab, and that was a change order. The band tower was ordered. The specifications on the band tower caused some revisions to the slab that the band tower will sit on. And so that cost is about $10,000, $10,800. So that again lowers the owner's contingency down to roughly $115,000. There were some revisions to the CTE heater controls, almost $15,000. Again, that's taken out of the owner's contingency, which lowered the owner's contingency down to about $100,000. And then we have the big security item, and this security item, which we wanted to kind of go through a little bit, includes several things. It divides in the main office area, in the main entrance, it divides the reception area into separated areas, and it adds a transaction window to the front office area so that the front office can actually communicate and exchange documents with individuals prior to them actually gaining access to the school. Similarly, on the south side of the building, the other main entrance on the south side, which is down by the auto tech area, the CTE entrance was revised to add a transaction window and a desk because they felt like there was going to be significant traffic through that area as well. So again, it's kind of a controlled access point for the building. And then in addition to that, there were a number of door and access modifications that were made, and those are at different locations in the building. And I think Jared may have something that he could show if we want to get to that detail. There are a few things that are not in that $134,000 that are still related to security. One of those is the curtains, and there are curtains in what we're calling the P1 and the P2 priority areas. It's basically curtains across the classroom so that in the event of a lockdown, the teacher can very quickly just grab the curtain, run it across the windows to include the door, and block the view from the hall into the classroom so that people cannot see students inside the classroom after that curtain is pulled. The other thing that is not in this, but will still be priced, and so will be a subsequent change order, is impact-resistant film on some of the exterior doors, and that film is being priced along with the curtains, so that'll be a subsequent change order. And then there's a third item that's associated with security, which would be remote lanyards. We don't know much about these remote lanyards, but we think they're certainly worth considering. But the remote lanyard will allow the principal or the assistant principals or whoever has a remote lanyard to go ahead and implement a lockdown to include releasing doors. So those are three items that are not in the 134, but are being priced, I guess, right now or in the next week or so. And so we should be having a change order associated with that. Back to the owner's contingency, we are moving from allowance 3, and allowance 3 is the allowance that deals with some of the pictures and logos and that kind of thing inside the building. So we think we It has currently about $93,000 in there. We don't think that's going to be spent, so the $34,000 doesn't impinge on that allowance at all, really, but it allows us to cover the cost of these changes. We have several allowances that still have money in them, so we do not see a problem as we get the pricing on these, what I would call final 3 security items, being able to cover those in terms of owner's contingency and the cost of the building. But when we talk about owner's contingency, we kind of have it split out, but you have the owner's contingency and then you have several allowances. All of those technically are considered owner's contingency. So moving money across those allowances is not really a problem at all.
Robert, can I ask a quick question just for my clarity in all of this? This is my first official facilities committee meeting. I think I was sitting in the back of the room the last time we met and Robin was still here. The security changes that we're talking about in this change order, these were things that were studied in the late fall from my understanding. Is that correct? Where these came from, just so we're clear about what these things are and what we've done prior to getting to this change order request?
Yes, that's exactly right. These were considered in the fall and drawn up by the architects and then priced. I'm glad you brought that up because there is one of those security items. There's a separate change order for security at about $84,000 that's been struck through. That was to put doors in the Main Street area. We actually studied that in a little bit more detail. It actually involved Doug Taylor and Pete Ramirez, and they went out and actually with Jill walked the building, and we decided to go ahead and strike those doors from the project. One, because they potentially maroon students in the event of a lockdown. I mean, students would have to be in a particular area, but we felt like at this point, those doors shouldn't be part of the project. And if once they're in the building, it is needed, they could be added, or the need for additional security doors could be added to the building or contemplated at that time. But we'd almost like to see them live in the building for a little bit, get comfortable with the building, and then make a determination on whether those Main Street doors are needed. Jared, do you have any comments on that?
I think you captured most of the intent of, ultimately the fall is when the building, really kind of came together physically and able to walk through it. And the conversation Jill and I talked over the last several years has really changed around security as well. And so it was an opportunity to instill the latest and greatest here, adding compartmentalization, changing the interface at the front door, and really pulling those forward. So it was that opportunity to price it and kind of see what happens and ultimately make a decision to move forward.
Okay, and then I also wanted to just touch upon, there's another item that's been struck through, and it's RFP 32 cabinets. And that was in the locker room, and what was contemplated there were some metal lockers. That was reviewed by Coach Skidmore. We got pricing on metal lockers, and then through the discussions decided, well, is that really what is needed, or is it more millwork? So they actually went back out and got pricing on millwork. And through that process, I'm going to ask David to chime in here. David had done some millwork. I think he had contracted for some millwork out at Belton High School. That was exactly what athletics and Coach Skidmore wanted in this project. And so we've removed those items. We should get a deductive change order associated with that. And David thinks his millwork guy can build what really is desired by athletics much more cheaply than the pricing we received on this item. David, do you have any comments on that?
No, I can't remember the exact quantity that we're talking about, but we were able to build those for Coach Skidmore over at the multi-sport building for about $1,600 a piece. So I would say it's going to be shy of 50% of that cost. So I'm thinking somewhere in the maybe the $20,000 range, we should be able to do all of that. So I've been talking to the contractor, and what we agreed upon was to let him go ahead and get his CO, because I don't want to bring a district subcontractor in there for insurance reasons and whatnot. Once he gets his CO, then we'll go in and measure, and those can be fabricated and installed well before August timeline.
Okay. So we stand ready to answer any questions, if you have any questions about these change orders or progress of the building.
All right, there's no other questions. Just great job. It's just so fun to go out there and drive around and look at everything. And man, it's just such an amazing process from the cutting of the dirt, and now look at this place, and you can see it from all over the area. Well, I was out playing golf at Wildfire the other day. You can see it from number 1 tee box. I mean, it's just so beautiful out there. So y'all are doing a really, really good job, Jared. Way to go. And Robert and David and you guys, y'all are doing a great job. So if there's no other questions, we'll move on to, I guess, David, this is your chance. We're going to get an update on our capital improvements list. I love this part of the meeting. So here we go.
Okay. You just like colors, don't you? So you'll notice on this spreadsheet, I have actually added the yellow color to several items. There's about 5 of them, I think, to show you that there's some things that we have underway right now that has sort of had to step back because of the COVID-19 situation, but they are underway. And as you can see, we've on the last sheet, we have currently 68 of the items complete, which is about 41% of the total. So there's also in the packet, I don't know if y'all can see that on the screen or if you have it, but I sort of did a little narrative of Dr. Muller asked me to sort of capture spring break and COVID-19 period. So I've done that. That's items such as the demolition of the press box. We completed the renovation of the old baseball field house and got that weight room ready. Sorry I didn't have a chance, but I did send Janet Lee a photograph this afternoon of the new restrooms, because I knew that was something she was very interested in. So it really looks good. It turned out great. Coach Skidmore loves it. I think they're going to go ahead and start getting the mats put down for the weight room. So that project is complete and really turned out well. We also completed the installation of the baseball LED field lights. Due to the school being out, students not coming back during this period, we were able to move forward with that. And it really looks good. It has made such a tremendous difference out there. It's just unbelievable. So hopefully you'll be able to go to a ball game soon and get to see those. We also replaced some entry doors at down to early childhood, repaired some sidewalks there. We've got a couple of concrete pads poured for marquee signs. One is at the high school, and that we had to relocate that due to the widening of 121 project. I have not received any update. I'm sure that project's just been pushed back a little bit, but we're ready for it. And also we poured the pad for the new marquee that will go over the Belton Middle School. And we've got that marquee ready to go in. We repaired a lot of sidewalks. 2 things that are great. So Leon Heights and Miller Heights gyms have air conditioning in them. Yay. So I tell you, I was tickled. The day that we got Leon Heights online, it was the day it was 92 degrees. And we turned the unit on and ran it for 3 hours and dropped the temperature to 75 degrees in there. So I think we got a golden nugget here. So those, Leon Heights, Miller Heights is complete. We're currently working on Southwest. And then also the renovation down to the administration office to the security desk and doors. Everything is complete there with exception of the glass doors and transaction window. We were hoping that glass was going to start installing tomorrow, but as someone said earlier, material deliveries are a little crazy right now. So he assures us he thinks he'll have everything by Tuesday, and he'll get back on that project, and we'll wrap that one up. Then I just listed some other notable items down here. We replace a lot of flooring and toilet partitions in some of these older campuses. So I think seems like an eternity, but between spring break and COVID-19, these guys have done a lot of work and good work. It really looks good. So with that said, anybody have any questions?
Hey, David.
Yes.
This is Jeff. I know that they've been working on it because I've seen them, but where do you think they are right now on the roof job over at Sparta?
It is 100% complete.
Okay.
It is complete, looks great, and that work was all done under warranty. Unfortunately, I battled with the warranty company for almost 2 years, and we finally got them to quit patching and replace. So we have a totally new cap sheet. Everything's complete. 2 days after they finished, we had that heavy downpour, and we had no leaks.
Oh, that's excellent. Good.
Yeah. So Julie Manley is tickled. She said, "I can't wait to get back on campus so I can rest easy when it's raining."
Good. All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Between Ty and I, yeah, I was gonna say that, Ty he's gonna make sure that all those gyms have AC, and I'm gonna make sure all the boys have decent bathrooms. That'll be our one mission on the school board. That'll be good enough for me.
Well, I think we've made both of you happy then.
I was trying to figure out where that bathroom comment came into all of this and stuff. Now I get it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, there was a picture in an old board packet. Gosh,
Yeah, it was it was outdated, to say the least.
Yeah, it was. You would not, if that is son, you would not want them to use that restroom. Let's put it that way. It was frightening.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Well, David, I just want to again say how proud we are of you and your guys that have been out there doing this. I knew that there could be some really good things that were going to come out of this layoff, and obviously being able to ramp some of this stuff up. I know some of the construction projects like the orchestra and things, we've been able to ramp those up because we're, don't have people on campuses, but these are, all of us kind of have our little pet projects that we've been able to see through. And I love looking at this list, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much for y'all's hard work.
Well, thank y'all, because y'all approved the funding for this, and we appreciate it, and I appreciate it personally, because things that need to be done, and I'm glad to see the list dwindling down.
I guess the only other question I have is about the restroom replacing. Are y'all painting that epoxy stuff like we put in at Charter Oak on the floors in those elementaries, or are y'all putting in like VCT, or what are y'all doing on the floors in there?
Well, it varies, Ty. Some of them were putting the that product you're talking about. Some were replacing VCT. Actually, some of the like over at Southwest, we changed the toilet partitions out in there and painted, but the tile was actually in pretty good shape. So where we have some tile that really looks bad, and wax it is not going to help it, then we replace that.
All right, sounds awesome. All right, here we go. We're moving forward to the review and discuss the long-term facilities planning. And the first item there is the old gym behind the administration building. So who's got this part?
Hi, I'm going to jump in real quick before I turn it over to Robert and to others to come in. On the agenda, we separated it into long-term facilities planning, and there's reason behind it. I want to refer back to a question you had a little bit earlier. I do think it's really important as we continue to study some of these things that have popped up for facilities improvement projects and long-term facilities planning, to point back to your question earlier about impact of COVID-19 on budgets. And when we do get into that budget retreat coming up, Jennifer is going to help start walking us through there at the beginning of May. One of the things that we know, there are a lot of projects that we know need to be done in Belton ISD and we need to figure out. We also know that hand in hand with that, our landscape regarding budget shifted in the last month on us, just being real honest. And so we're going to need to really be thoughtful about developing what a long-term facilities plan is going to look like in Belton ISD so that we can invest appropriately in our students and in our school district, and do so in a manner that that values the taxpayer dollar and recognizes the impact that we could be feeling coming up here. So I just wanted this language about long-term facilities planning. I don't know how much Robin had talked to you about it, but I really think that this pandemic that we are faced with right now makes it very clear that we are going to need a very thoughtful plan about how we invest in our existing facilities and how we plan for new facilities that we might need with future growth. So this discussion will be an ongoing one for quite a bit of time. Robert, do you want to take it from there and jump in with the next items? These were all items, I believe, that were discussed at previous facility committee meetings, and I think I got the tour of the first one when I first joined the district on this one.
Okay. Again, I'll ask Jared to kind of talk to some of the issues associated with the gym, but this is, of course, the gym that we've walked through. And I think we talked about this at the last facility meeting, and I think it's just a question of, do we want to take this off the table, or do we want to continue to have the demolition of the gym be an item that is considered? One of the options, of course, was to demolish the gym to put a parking lot back there. Some of that has changed with HR moving over to where they are currently residing on the north side of the building, because they took, now there's less training rooms, so there's perhaps less need for a parking lot in the location of the gym. Also, when Jared looked at it, in order to save the classrooms that are being used, the old Head Start classrooms that are being used by New Tech, that is a load-bearing wall, and of course it complicates the demolition work. But I think the question was, do you want to continue to explore the demolition of this gym, or do we just want to put that on hold? And Ty, I think you were at the last facility committee, I think you had indicated, well, let's just put this on hold. So we're just kind of re-engaging that question. Jared, do you have anything to add?
To me, even before the COVID, back when we, House Bill 3 kind of loosened some things up and it looked like we were going to have some monies to do things, this was never really a project that I was ever a big fan of because how little impact it had with students. And it had a big price tag for all the work. And plus, we were going to lose some pretty valuable storage that I think we still need too. So I would not have any problem at all striking this from the list for quite some time. Any
Janet,
other comments
Jeff,
on that?
Suzanne, anything else to add from your perspectives on this one?
You were asking me.
Okay. Are you talking to me, Jeff?
Yeah, Janet, Jeff, or Suzanne, I just wanted to know if, as board members, if there were any other perspectives that want to weigh in on this one too.
I feel like at this time, if it's just really not necessary and it's not something that's pressing, then it's probably not something we need to do and spend that kind of money. That's my personal opinion. If it's being useful, it's useful for storage, and we don't really have another place right now. It's going to be a significant cost. I don't see it at this time, but if somebody's got another opinion, I'm willing to listen.
No, I agree with Ty and Janet that we looked at different options. Every single one of them opened up a whole new can of worms. No matter what you did, there's no good option, and it is a lot of money right now to build a parking lot. The structure just has to stay for now. It's going to have to go on the back burner until some other day, but I just would strike it and not have it on the agenda again.
I concur with all the rest of them.
Thank you all. Jared, I didn't mean to cut you off if you had any comments.
No, I was just trying to make sure that I answered any questions for you, but y'all got it going. So.
All right, so I guess we'll move forward with the next item on the review and discuss for the long term. We went out and took a tour of the Ag Barn facilities and saw the need, how full it is, and saw the needs that they had, and they walked us through kind of their wish list. And so I guess David and the guys put some prices and stuff together, and the prices came back a lot higher than what I kind of was hoping for. So, but I'm not really sure why this is on here, but I guess we need to discuss, in the long term. Seemed to me like once those prices came in, it looked more like something that needed to be put on a future bond rather than coming out of, this kind of funding.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's, we were hoping for numbers somewhere between, I don't know, 5 to, maybe 500,000, which you could probably do on private property when you don't have to get the engineering stamps and some of the things that are going to be required. But once the numbers came in, it's going to be a bond item. It's going to have to go to a bond. The number's too big to use this fund for that.
I'll add in just real quickly, just so you all know, we have Stephanie Ferguson, who is, our director of CPE programs here in Belton ISD. And she is in the middle of a doctoral program and was working with Susan when Susan was here and has asked me to help her out. And one of the things that she has to do is have a project that she completes during all of this. I've asked Stephanie to get involved with this from a CTE lens, and I wanted to share this tonight. Stephanie's focus on student programs and student opportunities is really an important piece in my mind in all of this discussion. And so what I've asked her to do is to really take a look at the programs that we offer and the needs that we will have regarding facilities over the next 5 to 10 years from her perspective as these programs grow, as Lake Belton High School comes on board, and what our students will really need. So she's starting to kick that process off. I shot an email to our team today, making sure that they all knew that too, and might be joining us in future facilities discussions. But I think this is a perfect one, specifically with our ag program that lines up with that, is getting her lens in the middle of all of this and what might be a long-term plan as we prepare for future bonds if we need them in Belton ISD, which I think we all know we will need, but timing might be the interesting piece of all this now. Her lens on exactly what our students are going to need and what's going to best serve them, I think is going to be a real critical piece for us. So I just wanted to make sure that you all had that piece of information too, that her voice will be a critical one for us.
All right, any other questions on that? If not, we'll move to the future visits that we were going to take for the 2-story elementary school. So definitely looking forward to being able to go on those visits someday soon, hopefully.
It was funny. I reached out to some colleagues in the area in different districts and started lining some things up. And that was at the beginning of spring break. And then by the end of spring break, we texted each other and said, okay, we're not going to come visit after all. So when we are able to come do visits and stuff, we have some districts around to view various things. I know Jared has various different projects from O'Connell Robertson that we can take a look at. And there are other districts and other architects that have been used to that I think we can touch base on as well. And we will make sure that that tour happens when we are discussing long-range facility planning. But unfortunately, that is one of those things that COVID definitely took control of right there, is the opportunity to visit these other school districts.
On that topic, obviously when it comes to the visiting of the 2-story elementary schools, as many as the board can make it, would want to be there, and that makes sense. But it is hard to get us together as a group. We do fall under some of the guidelines of open meetings. So one of the questions I have, when this does clear, whatever that looks like, end of May, whenever it is, knock on wood, some of the things that we would, and I'm asking this of you, Matt, actually, and Suzanne, would it be okay for, and I'll just use Ty because I can throw him under the bus. If Ty wants to go see the new locker room that's been done for the baseball team or something like that, can they reach out to Coach Skidmore or to David Bennett and just say, hey, can I meet you? Because I know we want to see it. It's too hard to get the entire board to go see some of these things. But I know personally there's a couple of them I want to see that it's one thing to see it in the meeting when they put it up, but I'd kind of like to walk through and see some of the things we've done. But I don't think we need the whole board to do that. I think it's too cumbersome to do it that way. And I guess that's the question is to you, Matt. Do you have a problem if when it clears that we reach out to Sam Skidmore or David, say, hey, can I pick a time to come by there and you walk me through these things?
I'll defer to Suzanne a little bit on it. I don't know what you adopted in your board operating procedures. If there was anything in there, I don't remember it when I read them. But for me personally, regarding this, the only thing that I ever ask is that we give people a heads up and that I'm made aware of those things. What I don't like to do is catch administrators off guard. You all are elected officials, and we want to make sure that you realize when you walk in a building that people want to meet your needs, and sometimes the timing of it's really important. So giving people a heads up and making sure I know along the way is the only thing I really ask for.
I agree, that's fair. I believe as long as we give them a heads up and make an appointment with them, that should be fine.
Okay, well, that takes care of everything that's on the agenda. Is there anything else? If not, then guess we'll call this meeting to adjourn.